Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you today. My heart and prayer to those that are dealing with Hurricane Milton at this time. We are going to continue to keep you in prayer and do what we can. And I hope that there are local shelters and local businesses that can support Florida in this time of need. With that said, I'm going to now transition into announcements. First things first. The Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on all of my social media channels. It'll also be featured on Spotify and all of my media. So with that said, I do want to invite you to follow me on social media. I have a couple of platforms. So Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123. TikTok is Dr. India White. If you're wanting to be a guest on this podcast, please email me your photo and bio at india.white.123@gmail.com. Also, check out the website www.india-white.com for books, blogs, updates, different little cool things like that. Or if you're wanting to schedule me for a speaking event, professional development, or if you're wanting me to, come to your schools and to help collaborate or to consult with you or with your organization. And so with that said, I also want to remind you guys of the Grit Mini Workshop. Please check it out when you get a chance on the Grassroots Workshops website. Also, I will see some of you guys. I am scheduled for some of these events. Some I might not be able to make because of the hurricane. So thank you in advance for those that have asked for my services. And if you're in that category, let's work out something where we can reschedule. So I'm scheduled to speak for the NATM, scheduled for the October for the Ohio conference, which is this week, which I'm hunkering down right now in a hurricane. So thanks to everyone in October in Ohio for understanding. ICTM, hopefully things will clear up. I could be there to see you guys. ATM&E, also the Northwest Conference, and then we'll prepare for the FAMT conference in Florida, the FAMS conference, and even South Carolina conference, and Making Math Moments conference. And I do want to thank everyone for utilizing grit, utilizing my voice and what I would love to bring to the table to help support education. I'm thankful for those that can see the bigger picture and to see that, we're better together and, we can utilize each other. So with that said, I also want to remind you guys of the Grit Academy. It's an online tutoring process right now. If you're needing tutoring across the nation, you can contact me and I'd be honored to tutor you. So with that said, I do now want to transition into talking a little bit about grit and perseverance for the show today. We're in a time right now where perseverance is probably needed more than anything. And so, being able to have passion, being able to overcome adversities and to persevere and to get things done no matter what, that is perseverance. And so I wanted to come on and encourage everyone to please, in this season, remain resilient and continue to persevere no matter what. I want to talk about what perseverance looks like for students and show you some clips and to also talk about some motivational things that we can take away when we're trying to persevere during tough times, especially now. So many people are going through across this nation with, natural disasters. We've got so many other things going on politically, war, things like that. And so this is a time where we have to learn how to get some tough skin and to persevere. So with that said, I do want to go into this little cool video that I was able to find for us that talks about perseverance. And so this video is going to talk about grit and perseverance. It's an SEL video for kids. It's essential skills, socio-emotional learning, basically dealing with how to help students, bounce back. So let's listen.
Perseverance, tenacity, doing the hard things. It's also called grit. Has a nice ring to it, huh? It kind of brings up visions of John Wayne after a hard day's work. Simply put, grit is about persevering, being tenacious, never giving up. You've heard the saying, when the going get tough, the tough get going. But that's not the whole picture. You see, being tougher only gets you so far. There's a difference between slogging through the mud with your head hung low and really persevering.
I like how he said being tough only gets you so far. We definitely have to make sure it's more than just toughness, but that there's a goal in the end, that you're trying to achieve something.
And that difference is your purpose, your why behind the effort. Have you ever done something really, really hard? What kept you going? What kept you from quitting? I'm guessing it wasn't because you just loved the pain of the harder road. No, you had grit because you had your eye on the prize, a worthwhile reason to keep persevering. Mountain climbers, they don't climb the mountain because they love the severe cold and the aching legs. No, they do it for the end result, the view, the conquest, the sense of accomplishment, the knowledge that they did what few others have ever done. And do they get tired? Want to give up? Sometimes even fail? You bet. But their purpose sustains, produces, you could even say inspires their grit. They know that failure is not a permanent condition.
I like this. I like how he said, their purpose is inspiring their condition, and how, they know that basically they have to continue to go for that ultimate prize. Let's keep listening.
The brain grows during challenges. In its strength, it perseveres. So the next time you're tired, feeling worn out, ready to throw in the towel, stop and ask yourself the why, the purpose, the passion, the reason for your grit. And then get back up, look at the prize, and ask yourself, is this worth my sweat? And if it is, then go after it with that grit-filled stride, knowing that this truly is an essential skill.
All right. So that was pretty neat. We were able to hear from him about grit and why we need to persevere. It's all about having the goal on the prize, like he mentioned. And I think that's where many people go astray. And this can happen for many reasons. This can happen because there's disappointment in pursuing a goal. Maybe somebody came and blocked you. I know I had many blockers growing up, but it was unfair, some of the things I went through. I always tell the story about my former English teacher, and I'm not trying to blast her. It is what it is, but she told me that, she didn't think that I could, attend AP honors or AP English because I was 2 points behind an A. And at that time, so that was like a 92%, and I had straight A's and everything else. She was a blocker. And sometimes you'll have these grit blockers, these people that will block. You want to obtain a goal, you want to go to university, they block your entrance. There's people that'll block opportunities. And it's, I had a woman, one of my guidance counselors growing up, and she told me, not the one that helped me, my senior year. She was great. I had a guidance counselor, and she told me, guys, she said, India, the only scholarships you will get for college are for being Black, because she deemed that me having a 4.25 GPA, me having SAT scores, me having, I think I had like 80 plus hours of community service, that wasn't good enough, that all people saw was skin color. And I think people like that in schools are dangerous. I don't know why we hire so many people that are that way. But she really was a blocker, because she did not even tell me about, like, UF has a scholarship for first generation students. Guess what? I didn't even get it because I didn't know about it, because this woman was so fixated on the fact that I was Black that she didn't tell me about the opportunities that were out there for me, because I actually had a brain. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with grit blockers, people that block you for their own mental situations, you have to learn how to have perseverance to overcome that. There are other reasons why people, choose not to persevere. It could be because they're dealing with grief, they're dealing with hardships. I mean, you've got people dealing with these hurricanes, right? There's so many different things that can come up and discourage you. But you have to choose to want to focus on a purpose. You have to choose to start over. You have to choose to reset. You have to choose to look at the bigger purpose and the bigger picture of life. so that you can persevere and obtain your goals and get through the humps. We also have to realize, like he said, failure is not like a final situation. There can be a new start. There can be ways that you can work around, you know, missed opportunities, disappointments, and things like that. And I think too, just ridding yourself of people that are toxic that would, try to drain you or pull you down because they have issues. That's a vital part of it. I've realized that, we persevere, and sometimes you're doing so much to try to be accepted or try to get in. Sometimes you have to just walk away and realize that you weren't called to be accepted, but that you were called for a specific purpose. Do what you can and then walk away. It doesn't make sense to keep banging your head against a closed door, right? We have to learn how to persevere and to retrack ourselves in places where they want us and we're not being tolerated, in places that we're celebrated. And if we're not being celebrated, then, it's time to hit the road, right? So with that said, we have to continue to persevere. So I want to talk now about this really cool thing I found as well that talks about teaching grit. So it says teaching grit, how to help students overcome inner obstacles. And I think I've touched on this a little bit before. And so it talks about self-perception. So teachers, when you teach students about the impact of their thoughts and beliefs on their ability to succeed, so that's self-efficacy. So students who have created a habit of negative self-talk, it will be a hard time exerting grit. But research has shown that thoughts and beliefs can be changed. It's so interesting that they said this because this made me think of some reports that came out about students, and I just shared this on another podcast. Students that are African American or Black, they miss 103 school days per year for suspension reasons versus their white peers who only miss 21 days for suspension reasons. So can you imagine being a Black kid and you're automatically missing 103 days on average for suspension? And it's just an area of focus. And I think that, things like that doesn't affect their self-efficacy and their belief that they can be successful in the classroom. And this is why we need to strengthen the voice of Black males, Black leaders, and our Black youth, because I think that that's going to really help us to, bridge the gap as we continue to work together to do this, right? Along with other kids, but in particularly those kids. And so let's keep going. So it says, yes, Carol Dweck, whose mindset is a well-known example, her growth mindset on how we can learn about our learning and how we can affect our success. And it says, so if you're already teaching these mindsets to your students, keep doing that. I talk about optimism, and I shared a TikTok really quickly about a teacher that talked about how my grit framework is a way to birth optimism in students, and how it goes well with building thinking classrooms. I thought it was really neat for productive struggle. I just shared that. So check that out on my TikTok. And that was at, I think it was an NCSM conference. So it's all about optimism and having a positive mindset, right? And so let's keep going to see what else they're talking about here. So they say that, there's all different types of things. They have a grit pie here. I stink at math. I'll never be good at it. Or I was distracted by my friends, whatever it is. I didn't ask for help, right? But then they have to work out those situations. And I have the same kind of scenario on my grit assessment that asks questions. But then I have a grit poster that has encouraging phrases like, I can beat that test and things like that. I can ace that test. That really helps students. That I was able to do, from my work at the University of Florida. Go Gators. And so this is very interesting because as you're working on the mindset of students, you're also helping them with their emotions. So it says here, teaching students how to work with their emotions, just changing their thoughts sometimes is not enough for them, particularly if they tend to get anxious, appear depressed, or come from traumatic home environments, or they're being, targeted by their teachers or policed by their teachers. Then they have to learn how to deal with their emotions so that they don't get suspended or in trouble, right? So it talks about how, if they're dealing with fear, despair, anger, how that can arise quickly so that there's no time for changing his or her thinking to feed off the emotion, right? So to help these students, educators must first teach them to recognize and label emotional responses. so that when they become emotion, when their emotions are spinning out of control, follow the methods for calming difficult emotions. I don't think we do that in schools. I don't think we do this much. I think it turns more into like a referral and unfortunately like school to prison pipeline. I don't think there's a method of having a student calm themselves, especially a student of diverse backgrounds. I think we should work on, putting together things. I know like some people talk about culturally responsive tasks, and there's like the Hope Wheel from Dr. Lou Matthews that talks about ways that you can care for kids and, work on that. And I think that as we implement different strategies and tools like that, that can help us with this, right? Then this says regulating difficult emotions. So emotion researchers found that cognitive reappraisal to the ideal method for regulating difficult emotions. The other way people regulate their emotions is through suppression, right? So they just shut down. And teachers need to be aware of students that might be doing this, whether they're gritty or not. Emotion suppression means just that, pushing away rather than dealing with difficult thoughts and emotions. Long-term suppression can lead to increased negative emotions, anxiety, depression, as well as fewer closer relationships and social support. This also found that this is higher among adolescents than adults. Okay. And so people who have high levels of grit may actually be using emotion suppression to get through tough obstacles, particularly if attaining a goal seems to be the way to survive, right? So I have to get into Ivy League college, otherwise my parents would think I'm a bad person. Wow. So that's something to think about. And then, of course, that leads us into resilience. So it talks about how researchers have found that highly resilient children, they use humor as a way to deal with stressful situations. We need a lot of humor right now in Florida, okay? So it says humor not only fosters positive emotions, it connects us also connects us to others, and it helps us to maintain positive social support networks, which we all need when we're going over these long-term goals. We also have to deepen self-awareness. And this also, they talk about teaching grit, how it cultivates resilience and perseverance and whatnot. So that was a pretty good article but basically what I got from that is, when you're persevering, you got to get your emotions involved, and you got to know how to do it in a way that's healthy, especially, teaching students how to do it in a way that's healthy so that they're not being targeted or suspended, or they don't act out of character whenever they're going through a tough time. So we definitely need to jump on board and see, what does that look like? How can we, speak to students to help them to persevere through tough times? So now I want to talk about another cool thing that I found for us. And it's just like motivational quotes to get us through. And I wanted to do this in particular in this season because I think that, we're all trying to persevere in our different, areas of focus, but, especially now, right? So here we have the 67 quotes to persevere when times get tough. Okay. And so it says, because you can do this, you have the strength to dig deep with grit and perseverance and to face your hurdles head on. So take a deep breath, be kind to yourself, find the courage to see the problem through. Yes, it may be difficult, but without challenge, there is no victory. So it's all about victory, having a victory mindset. So in this article, they're going to look through 67 quotes to help you persevere when times get tough. Let's get to it. So let's get to the quotes. So the first one says, every great story happened when someone decided not to give up. That's pretty awesome. Every great story happened when someone decided not to give up. Next, your dreams are on the other side of your grit. This is so true. Your dreams are on the other side of your grit. Next, grit is that extra something that separates the most successful people from the rest. It's the passion, perseverance, and stamina that we must channel in order to stick with our dreams until they become a reality. Travis Bradberry. Okay. Grit is the stubborn refusal to quit. Some unknown tweet. Okay, let's keep going. Grit is living life like a marathon, not a sprint. It's kind of like something Duckworth said in her TED Talk. And then it says, I love this quote from her. She says, grit is sticking with your future day in and day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years. The next one. The only thing that overcomes hard luck is hard work. Okay, next. You have a choice. You could throw in the towel or you can use it to wipe the sweat off your face. That's a good one. You could throw in the towel or use it to wipe the sweat off your face. Next. Grit is the persistence, love that word, in following your own destiny. Wow. 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 Grit is the persistence in following your own destiny. What is your destiny? That is the question of the year. Next, I like this. Grit, push yourself to the limit. Just do it, right? Nike, just do it. And grit means not taking no for an answer and sticking to your guns. Next. Perseverance is the hard work you do after you get tired of doing all the hard work you already did. Perfect, right? Perseverance is the hard work you do after you get tired of doing the hard work you already did. So it's like you're just rubbing or just rolling your sleeves up again. Next. I kept going. The decision I had to make, the setbacks and the feelings of having my backs against the wall, I was determined that I had the grit. Next. Fall 7 times and stand up 8. Japanese proverb. That's also scripture. And then it says here, it's going to get harder before it gets easier, but it will get better. You just got to make it through the hard stuff first. Love it. Next. Grit is picking yourself up and moving forward, even when you think you can't take one more step. And I know many of us have been in that place, right? So to those that are going through right now with the natural disasters and things, you might feel like that, but I want to encourage all of you guys to get gritty, pick yourself back up. Next, grit. The raw endurance, perseverance, and passion that keeps you going despite obstacles. Next, true grit. Love it. Is staying in the game when others would have dropped the ball and left the park. Right. Next. Life is messy. Grit and grace comes at us fast, side by side. Sometimes the grit becomes overwhelming and diminishes our spirit. What's good seems lost and gone forever. This is a story about a pathway back to what's beautiful when the way back seems impossible. And I think many people are feeling that right now across our nation. Next. It always seems impossible until it's done. Nelson Mandela. Wow. Next. It's just as important to know when to drop something and shift direction as it is to know when to stick with something. When we quit the things that aren't working for us, we free up willpower and perseverance for the things that really do matter. Rich Karlgaard. Next. The only guarantee for failure is to stop trying. John Maxwell. Next. I can, I will. End of story. Wow. Mouthful. Next. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. That's powerful. Steve Jobs. Next. Most of the important things in life have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there seemed to be no hope at all. Dale Carnegie. Next. Effort is one of those things that gives meaning to life. Effort means you care about something, that something is important to you, and you're willing to work for it. Effort. It's truth. Okay, let's do a couple more. Work hard and be smart. Don't give up. It's unknown. Next, successful men and women keep moving. They make mistakes, but they don't quit. And I think that's the goal, right? To keep moving. I'll do like one more. Let's do. There will be. This is the long one. There will be times in your life when all your instincts will tell you to do something that defies logic, upsets your plans, and may seem crazy to others. When that happens, you do it. Listen to your instincts and ignore everything else. Ignore logic, ignore the odds, ignore the complications, and just go for it. Judith McNaught. That's a pretty powerful thing. You got to learn to trust yourself in this, right? So that was pretty neat as we're talking about those gritty statements, and I hope that you guys are able to take at least one or two with you to chew on for later. And I also just want to think, have us all think and ponder about what is our purpose. I really hope that we have aspired to have more of a purpose than just getting a paycheck or filling our 401ks and stocks and investments. Life is so much greater than that. And as we've seen, people, they go to the grave with billions of dollars that they never spend. And then, that's that, right? So I think there's more to life than the money. And, money has become an idol for some people, where that's all they care about is money. And it's like their life would fall apart if they didn't have money. But, as I'm sitting here and going through this, situation with the hurricane and everything, I've just really sobered up in the season. And I'm so thankful that I have a connection with my creator, and that I know him, and that life is so much deeper than that. And that as I understand my purpose, I can persevere. And I want to encourage each of you to do the same, to go beyond the shallow things of this life. And when times get tough, to persevere no matter what. Don't throw in the towel. Keep going, okay? Because you're needed. You're needed for students. You're needed in this time. You have a purpose, and we need your voice. So with that said, thanks so much for joining me on this episode of the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White. Again, you can find this podcast on so many different platforms. It will be on Spotify. It'll be on my social media platforms as well. Thank you to those that have been with me for the couple of years that we've had this going. You can also check out my social media channels to follow me. So Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. I will see many of you guys at these upcoming events. Looking forward to getting out of these storms, and hopefully I can head to ICTM and NATM and all these other places. ATM and E. October is very busy, very busy month. Thank you to those that have had me on as featured speakers, keynotes, and things. I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And I'm planning on knocking it out of the ballpark when I get among you guys as we talk about grit and we talk about bridging the achievement gap. Check out the Grit Mini Workshop whenever you get a chance. Also, check out the Grit Academy. It's an online tutoring and learning platform for you. It's getting better and better. And definitely check out my website as well, because I have so many different updates that I've been doing on the website for you guys. So the website is www.india-white.com. So you can go there for books or blogs or to schedule me for an event. I'm looking forward to working with many of you across this nation. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And thank you again for joining the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White. Until next time, stay gritty. See ya.